Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be doing a budgeting video. So I'll be chatting about what my spending plans are for January. So I haven't been on here for a few months, but if you're new, welcome. I like to do financial content mostly, and then sprinkled in with some travel and lifestyle as well. Some context for this video, or the money that you're going to be seeing talked about here today, is that I am married. So this is a joint income. I recently got married maybe about 6 or so months ago. We have combined income, so that's what we're going to be budgeting with today. My husband receives 1099 income and I receive W-2 income, so from a regular 9 to 5 kind of job. And I think everything else we'll explain as we go through the video. So when you look initially at the budget, you'll see that I have it divided into 2 checking accounts. That's the way I like to delineate from account to account so that things are clear in my mind. I have a video about why I have 2 checking accounts, and this has recently been integrated to include like the fact that I have a joint account now. Before it was a fixed checking account, which is just fixed bills, etc., and then a variable checking account. And now it's the joint checking is basically the variable checking account, and then the fixed checking is as it says. So starting off in the joint checking account side, this is where most of the money is coming and going out of. Starting balance, while I do have a starting balance in the account, I sometimes ignore it because it usually leads to some confusion based on when the money comes in and out. It doesn't always add up on this side, so we're going to leave it blank for now. Salary, I mentioned how our salary is set up. So because I am a W-2, my income is usually set. Every once in a while I can make extra money by working more, but for the most part it's set. And then, as I mentioned, since my husband is a 1099, his income is variable, so he can make very little to a lot. So for this month, for both of our incomes, it's going to be 27,651, and then extra income is going to be 0 so far. And I will note that this is income that we got in December. I like to budget with the income from the previous month. My husband's income is variable, so I like to have a clear idea of what I'm going to be working with for the current month. So that's why I do it that way versus having to estimate what it could be, where there's no way truly to estimate what it could be since it's so highly variable. So there's that. So other things of note, I have sinking funds, which I've made a video about. If you want to know, those are basically savings buckets that you can use to save for large expenses. And in this particular month, I don't think we're going to be moving over anything yet. I do have a healthcare deductible savings or sinking fund that I may be pulling from, because now that is the beginning of the year, I will not have, or my insurance will not pay for any of my health care costs until I've met the deductible, which last year was $3,300 for both of us, but I'm sure it's increased by some amount. So we'll see what that is. But for now, we have nothing to transfer. And then distribution, this is money that my husband gets back from the account for his own living expenses, work expenses, and then anything that he has contributed or anything that he has paid for that he needs to be refunded for from the previous month. So for this month, as I said, work, living expenses, and we purchased a truck. My husband used his money because he has an actual brick and mortar bank and I don't, so he used money from his account for that, and then I transferred money from our joint account back to reimburse him for it. And then he got a new pair of glasses, so he had to pay above the vision insurance, so he's getting reimbursed for that. And I think that's basically it. So that equals 9,533. And if you've been here for a minute, then you might have remembered that we bought a truck like let's see, summer of last year. That truck was very old. Was it like 1990s? Either way, it effectively fell apart within a few few months of us getting it. So now we bought still an older truck, but I think this one is like 12 or 13 years old, so a little bit more reliable. And it had very low miles on it, so we're hoping we can get our fair share of use out of it before it totally goes kaput. But back to the budget. So available balance in this account is $18,118. Subscriptions, that works out to be $32, and that is $20 for Google. I'm working on some things with Google, and it's helpful to have this because it has the AI feature. And then New York Times is $8, and then Wall Street Journal is $4. Electricity, we currently live in my condo that I had for quite some time, and then we recently purchased a house, so we pay 2 electricity bills, and soon, I'll talk about it a little bit more, we'll be moving into the house because the renovations are almost done, thankfully. And I have not updated you guys on that in quite some time either because I haven't been making videos, but hopefully we can get around to doing that. But electricity for both homes for this month is going to be $137. Internet is $50, that's just for our current house. Cell phone is $120 for 3 lines. And then I have already paid insurance up, so nothing is due. I normally pay car insurance like every 6 months for like each vehicle. And for the new vehicle, since we got it in December, I've already paid for 6 months of that vehicle already. So in total for bills, we have $339. Moving on to living expenses, so groceries, we're gonna try to keep that to $400. And new, possibly, I don't recall if I talked about this months ago. I don't think we were doing it months ago. But recently we've been paying for my husband to get lunches pre-made that he can eat on the go because of the way that he works. There's not always like a set place for him to go, and he has a habit of just snacking. So I decided to invest in some actual meals for him, and those max out at about $339 per month. Gasoline, that's gas for my car. My husband's gasoline costs are integrated into his like distribution that he gets. So this is a $130, I'm estimating. Health and wellness, as I mentioned, I'll probably have some medical bills. I have some medical appointments coming, but that will come out of a sinking fund if I need it, and I'm not sure anything else. So we'll keep that blank for now. Home, as I mentioned, the house will be finished, so we may or may not move this month or the following month. So we need to pay for moving cost, which I'm estimating about $1,000. I'm not sure. And then we need to get some preliminary furniture. Like we want to upgrade our bed. We want to get a king bed, so we need an actual bed frame. All of our furniture will be purchased secondhand. I have no intention of buying any new furniture, mostly because of the price, and that's one of the reasons we got the truck in the first place, was to be able to haul things like furniture and like do yard work, etc. So I'm thinking maybe $2,000. We will see. And then car maintenance, that's going to be $796, and that involves a car wash. I'm budgeting 2 car washes a month. Those work out to be about $11 each. And then the truck that we just bought, like the seats, it used to be used as a work truck. It's basically a two-seat pickup truck, and it had paint on the seats and they were like ripped, so I want to get them replaced. And this is going to be for just the seat cushions, not the actual seat, so that works out to be about $400. I haven't purchased them yet because I'm still looking to see if I can find a better price. And then the wheel was also worn, so I purchased a used wheel that was $74. And then having a friend of the family who's a mechanic replace them, so I'm guesstimating about $300. He said it wouldn't be much, but then he didn't name a price, so we'll see how much that is. So that's where that comes in. So in total for living, we have budgeted $3,665. Extra, only thing I have on the schedule so far is a massage. My mother and father-in-law were nice enough to give me a massage voucher. So the only thing I need to pay for is a tip. I actually don't know how much the massage is, so we'll see if I need to increase or lower this tip. But before I forget, other things that are happening aside from moving and furniture, which we talked about, we're gonna finish up the renovations. Our last payment should be coming soon, and as I mentioned before, like when I talked about how I afforded to pay for the house, this final payment will be a combination of savings that I've been putting aside for the past few months, and then I'm thinking I'm gonna have to take a little bit out of my brokerage account to make up the difference. So it's not reflected in or spending in these two accounts here. So in total for spending for this account is going to be $4,019 so far, with a potential end balance of $14,999. And another thing that I've been working on in terms of the extra category is not spending as much. I've been spending, I would say, excessively. I go in and out of my spending. Sometimes I can be like really staunch and not spend any money and save everything, and then sometimes I can get on a little bit of a spending spree, and ironically it's always like the more money I make, the more money I spend, a type thing, because when I had to go part-time, as I did a couple of years back, and my income was in half or cut in half, then I spent significantly less. Now that I'm working full-time and making twice as much money, then of course I'm back to spending more. So, but I would like to cut down on spending. So I've allotted myself about $500, which I have dedicated to one credit card that I actually wasn't using for the longest, because it gives like 1.5% straight cash back, which is like the lowest. Well, it's not the lowest. 1% is the lowest, but this is giving 1.5. So I mainly put most of my spending on a 2% card. But anyway, I designated this card with about $500 for shopping. So that's the most that I expect to spend buying things for myself, but we'll see how that all shakes out in the monthly recap. Let's move on to the fixed checking side. So once again, I am going to ignore the starting balance here until I figure out what that is, but salary is going to be $3,115, and then contribution, which is basically my husband's contribution to the house that we just purchased, as I purchased it myself in my own name, but he contributes monthly towards the mortgage and then the maintenance cost and like bills. So that equals $2,019. So the total income that comes into this account is $5,134, and nothing is being transferred here. Once again, I have a couple of sinking funds associated with this account. So home insurance I save for separately, as well as property taxes, and I use a high yield savings account for that so that I can get interest on them. But mortgage is going to be $3,000, and that is the actual mortgage costs plus some extra principal. As you've noticed, property taxes and home insurance are paid separately because I did not get escrow for this mortgage, because I would rather save the money myself and get interest versus letting the bank do it themselves. And I didn't want my cost to, or my monthly cost of my mortgage to go up and down. Like, I'd rather be in control of the money, basically. So other things, utilities, water, I got a water bill like when I first moved into I first purchased the home, but I haven't gotten one since. So nothing there. And then gas bill, we got a crazy gas bill. It was like $330 something for last month. But that was one because we had an old thermometer on there. I just installed a Google Nest thermometer in there now, so that should be a little bit better in terms of efficiency. And then two, we installed a door that goes onto the garage, and that door was open. The garage isn't insulated, so basically we just had cold air coming from outside into the house, making the furnace go off often, and the furnace is gas or uses gas. So anyway, I'm hoping it goes down to something reasonable. We'll see. That is for winter. I haven't, because I live in a condo now, I've never had to pay for the gas individually, so we'll see. I'm gonna estimate $1,000 or $100 actually. Maintenance fees, like I said, this is for the condominium, so everything is $250. That's for like maintaining the property, water, gas, and then like electricity for everything else besides my actual unit. Home insurance, I'm paying the insurance for the condo for the year, and that's actually quite low because it's a condo, and then the condo already has its own insurance that we pay into. So this is just for my unit, so $464. And then no property taxes are due. I do have some due in, I think, February. I have both of my property taxes due, so you get to see what those are then. In terms of bills, we have $3,815. And then for investments, so I've been investing $50 into Bitcoin every week, $2 cost average, until I get up to value of one Bitcoin. Right now I'm very much far away from that. I think I have about 2,000 or something dollars worth of Bitcoin right now, but yeah, so 50 times the 4 weeks, 200 for this month. And then aside from my retirement, so 401k, 403b, I have an HSA as well, and I think that's it for pre-tax retirement. And then I have a Roth IRA that is already accounted for. In fact, I'm going to be investing in that for the year in the next couple of days, so maybe I'll film a video with that as well. But I have one that I filmed from last year, so I'll leave you guys a link for that. So I like to do investing outside of those things into a brokerage account. So I like to do $1,000, so we'll do that. So, end balance in the account is $119. As I mentioned, there is a balance in there, but I did not take the time to figure it out before I filmed the video. So we should be good regardless. But let's go over the summary for January. So income between both accounts is $3,200,785. As mentioned, my husband is going to be getting $9,533 of that back. And then spending for both accounts is $7,834, with a breakdown of that actual spending here. And then investments are going to be $1,200. And then the difference between the income, the distribution, the spending, and the investing leaves us with $2,300, $7,051. And that is all going to be put aside for anything else that we need to be saving for, like for instance, the home renovations, etc. So that is going to be it for this portion of the budgeting video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to be filming a spending recap for December, and hopefully we can catch up there as well as in the comments from today's video. I love to hear who you guys have been doing over the last few months, since it's been a while, and any other questions that you guys have, leave them below, and I'll see you in the next video.